because we know that failing forward is very important for the need of the hour. But those kind of career pathways want students to understand how to fail and then how to evolve.
Do you also feel that there is a lot of overexplosion and a lot of overexposing as well from a content perspective?
There is, and that is where the students are getting confused. You're not teaching students to hold back and have patience, because unless you slow down, you're not able to reflect. Everything needs a discipline.
But do you think that creates unnecessary pressure?
What's the point of raising a child in an entire bubble today and then exposing him to the world outside, which is full of pressure? Humility comes from the top. More than mental health, conversation with students. Just talk to them. What matters to that a child may not matter to you.
In India, essentially, we start at a very early age.
Our Indian parents in general are pushy, and I don't think there's anything wrong.
But when it comes to IB, commercially, they are far more than the other boards.
The cost of the training, resources, the school is sourcing all that. Where does the money come?
Which board is the best option to choose and why?
Of course, international boards, because the recognition, the understanding to these universities abroad is much more.
Hi.
Hello.
Ms. Mukherjee, thank you so much, first of all, for coming on Expert Talk with Bhavya Desai. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm always great.
Great. So, really excited about today's conversation. The reason is because I think in today's day and age, when there is so much of unauthentic news, information, credibility, authenticity, and all of these factors become the most critical and important reasons for today. And as the head of a leading institution, it's a really important role and responsibility. From a conversation perspective, I would love to obviously talk about a little bit of the education system and then kind of take it from there. I hope you are relaxed.
I'm absolutely good.
Great.
Yes,
okay, so first
one of my favorite subjects that you're touching upon. I love talking about these things.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So first up, what are your thoughts on the India's education system currently?
I think, frankly, we are in great space. Gone are the days when we were totally focused on only knowledge sharing and knowledge grabbing content. We had boards which were very, very content driven. Now it's context driven. We have opened up to international education. And not that the locals are bad, of course, the locals are also evolving with the times. So if you see, education is focusing more on building up human capabilities, which is definitely the need of the hour.
Right.
So MIT Sloan School of Management has come up with a wonderful framework called the EPOC framework, right? Where E stands for emotional intelligence, P would be personalities, how your narratives, how you share, how you connect. O is how you make opinions, right? C is the creativity angle, the imagination aspect, and H is beautiful. It's about hope and vision. So how does an institution put all this into a growing up child, right? And this cannot happen in a classroom space. And I'm sure all evolved schools realize that. That is why you'll find schools doing so much. Schools getting, exposing students to international platforms, national platforms, getting into different competitive space. Sporting event, in my school, I have an amazing sports day happening very soon.
Yes.
So what happens is, why we're doing it? Because we know that failing forward is very important for the need of the hour.
Okay.
Right? Those kind of the career pathways, which are not the very, very straight jacketed. Right now, nothing is straight jacketed, but those kind of career pathways want students to understand how to fail and then how to evolve. Find out answers to questions which are not even there.
Right.
So how do you do that? It cannot happen in a classroom space.
True.
It cannot happen jacketed from the textbook.
Understand.
So that is why you'll see schools are doing so much. Exposing students to so much. People would feel just a small trivia that they're doing it for publicity, which is not the scene. We understand this is the need for the existence of education space. We need to teach students how to think, how to react, how to judge, how to have opinions. There's so much news in the market. How do you sieve, the authentic from the fake news?
Right.
Who's going to teach them if not education space?
Yes.
So these are the things every evolved school is getting into. And I think that's the need of the hour. That's where education space is concerned. And that is why I think India is opening up to so many international, universities.
Right.
Our government has been magnanimous in opening up. The NEP talks about having MOUs with 100 universities across the globe, and people have started coming to India.
Understand.
I mean, there is something about this place.
Look, I mean, this is great. Actually, there's so much to unpack here in terms of what you've actually opened up with. And I want to kind of take it one step at a time. The reason is because these are things which are definitely in my mind. Also, you know, I'm really hoping that with this conversation, the substantial amount of viewers who will be there, they won't just be students and wards, obviously not just your institution, even in general, but also parents, because that is, I think, once you become a parent, there are so many critical decisions that you have to take at every stage in life.
And I know from where it is coming. Bhavya, I'm so happy and proud that you are my parent.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Also, I actually feel like a full circle coming in because I've passed out as an alumni. And then obviously here today to do this. It's really good. And again, once again, thank you for this opportunity. It's really great. But yes, coming to this, before we go on to like those sort of areas, I quickly wanted to just ask one more question on basis of what you just mentioned. You mentioned that there is epoch, or at least there are so many things that today a student or a ward needs to get into. Do you also feel that there is a lot of overexplosion as well, and a lot of overexposing as well from a content perspective?
There is. There is, and that is where the students are getting confused. Parents are getting more confused. Because there is so much to offer.
Right.
I remember my days. I used to wait for having a sweet which my mom would cook. At least she would say it would happen only on a Sunday, and I used to doubtfully wait for a Sunday to happen. Today you just have to do a Zomato or all those apps which are there, and it's there. So what happens is you're not teaching students to hold back and have patience, and we need to teach students how to slow down, because unless you slow down, you're not able to reflect.
Right.
We don't want the spontaneous responses. Today the world is wanting you to reflect.
Understand.
Right. So there are so many choices, and I mean, what do I stop? I cannot stop a Netflix or an Amazon from doing business, right? It's going to be there. So for us, again, I go back to my base point. It's very important for us to teach students what to take, what to see, what to pick up.
Okay.
Right? There is nothing wrong in Amazon, where Amazon or Netflix has so many educational videos also.
True.
Are we guiding the students right in those directions? That is something which we need to pick up.
Right. This is very interesting, actually. Okay, so let me ask you this then. What do you see? If I asked you like 4 things or maybe 5 things, what do you see a school's primary role today, or educational institution's primary role today? 5 things.
Facilitating, showing the right picture to the parents and students. I may not be a very, very staunch person who's really, wanting discipline, but I think discipline is very, very important. Though there are a lot of controversies to it, but I still now, if you don't have a disciplined approach to whatever you're doing, whether it is learning, whether you are making friends, whether even you're eating, sleeping, everything needs a discipline. Your body needs discipline. So discipline is something which is very important to me and my institution. Exposure to the right amount and balanced parenting. This is something which I talk to my parents also. Don't give a lot and also don't deprive. Have that fine balance, like this is okay, this much is okay, this much is negotiable, but this much is non-negotiable. Doesn't happen in my family. That kind of a balance is important. So discipline, balanced approach. Exposure very much needed. I cannot have my students sitting full time in the house and not going and interacting with friends because friends are bad. It's an absolute no.
Yes.
Please don't do that. So some negotiation is something parenting has to be.
How much of that though is shared responsibility practically? I mean, of course, all of these things are great naturally, because those are basically the higher level ecosystem objectives that naturally you would have. But practically, when you go to pin all of those things down, how much of that is a shared responsibility from where the school stops or institution stops and the parents need to start?
More than school and institution, a very important area is the ecosystem between the school and the home. Where it's a garden space, or where it's a birthday party, or where it's a marriage function. So those are those non-monitored spaces. What is happening over there? What kind of conversations are happening? Who are the people my ward, my student is interacting with? Those make a big influence on our personality. So I think the ecosystem needs to be monitored. Okay, home, I'm sure every parent is doing her bit or his bit, right? In school, every school is grappling with multiple situations today, multiple issues. But at the same time, if we keep the student at the center of our vision all the time, all your distractors move away.
Right.
And we are totally focused with the students. So school and parents are doing it, but the in-between spaces, students are traveling by vans, traveling by school buses, traveling by public transport. What is the kind of vocabulary they are picking up? Whom are they interacting? Is there bullying happening over there? How am I reacting? There are some who would, very voraciously react. There would some who would be cocooned inside, and reactions come back home or in school.
True.
So that mid ecosystem, the mid space, is something also that needs to be monitored.
Absolutely. I think that's a very fair point, because I was actually telling my team literally that a few days back, that the sort of people that are around your children, especially if you have nannies and drivers and help and things like that, they tend to really influence your child in a very big way.
In that impressionable age.
Yes.
So vulnerable right now.
Right.
So it's very important to monitor that space.
Right. Interesting. Okay, actually, when let's scale back a little bit in terms of the conversation, please. Let's break it down into from a system perspective. What are the type of boards that are there today? Say, for example, in Utpal Sangvi or in educational institution, and how are they different from one another?
So we have, of course, the state board. You have the ISCs and the SSCs and all that. We have international board. We have Cambridge. We have IB. Now, if I just zero down, focus on these boards, it's the content would be almost the same. Content, a fraction is going to be a fraction any which ways.
Right.
The way you attempt, your approach, and your responses that is expected from the student, that is what is going to be different. Okay. So I'll give you a very simple example. Science experiments we do in a state board. Okay, we have a set of rules, certain systems, principles, and you perform the experiment, and then you write the result.
Okay.
In IB board, the result is given to the student, and the student is making the experiment. The student is telling us what are the apparatus, what are the chemicals required. So it is like a backward process. That is where thinking begins. Okay, so it's just the approach. There's nothing wrong here or there. It's just different. The approach is different. So the approach in teaching, the approach of learning, and the approach of assessments, that's very different. Right. So if you teach in World War II in a particular board, you would say what happened, which were the countries which fought, which won, which were the genre, which was the area, which was the year the war happened.
Yes.
In a particular board, which is an international board, it would be like, what was the situation at that point of time when World War happened, narrated to the present circumstances. How is it making a difference to the present circumstances? What is the impact?
Understand.
So what are you making the child? You're not making the child understand ages, years, countries, but you're making the child reflect what were the reasons that the war has happened. Are we proactively moving towards another war? Is there some kind of similarity?
Right. How do you see a difference between the students between these boards in terms of just general? For example, someone who's actually studying IB for a long time, since it's a very different approach and it's more specific towards outcome orientation. And when we talk about more SSC, is SSC still there? It is still there. So SSC, CBSE, IGCSE and all of that. Is there a difference that you see in terms of like the students from a general perspective overall? So
basically, as I said, there is a lot of structure in one board vis-a-vis school making its structure in another board.
Right.
That's the the bird's view perspective to the boards. Okay.
Right.
So that's why it's very important, more than the board, for a parent to select a good school. For example, you are SSC product. I myself am an SSC product.
Right.
So the school, the treatment the school does to the board, that impacts the student. So even when Utpal was exclusively SSC, we were one of the best even then, because we introduced worksheets, which was not the need for an SSC board, but we did it. Then when we introduced Cambridge, the best practices of Cambridge was also given to the state board students. So some of my state board students are really good, right? Because Cambridge, the best practices of Cambridge, okay, maybe the teaching, the vocabulary, the treatment was different for Cambridge vis-a-vis state board. But the best practices, my debates, which is happening. It's the state board students, Cambridge students, and tomorrow when my IB comes of age, they are also going to be, debating on the same platform.
Right.
So they are just going to take the best of each other. So I have to really answer your question in a line. It depends on the school, how the school treats the board, and how the school treats the student.
Right.
So there are certain statutory requirements of every board which
course.
needs to be done.
Yes.
But the seasoning or the icing to the cake, no board can stop you. So every school can do the best.
Right. No, I understand that. And I understand that that's the style and approach that each institution has. My question is more in terms of from a perspective that from a macro level perspective, our students who are in different boards are more like kind of open in certain way. They are more problem solving. See, I feel personally, like today, I think in today's day and age, the most critical quality that the individual requires is problem solving skills.
Yes.
One of the core qualities.
Yes.
Because you are, of course, like a bell curve, there's everything which is like constantly going up, down. So you are faced with scenarios on a daily basis, could be the tiniest or could be the biggest, and you need to get out of that or you need to solve that problem. So in such scenarios, do you see a massive difference or do you see any difference from that perspective where?
Definitely with the international boards, because this structure you're talking about is inbuilt in the board.
Got it.
Whereas in the other boards may not necessarily be. Good schools will adapt.
Understand.
They will learn. Right? But international boards have it as an inbuilt structure. So you have to do these things to go to the next level. So then it becomes a way of life for the students. So definitely they are more agile, more adaptive.
Right. It's very interesting that you say this. The reason actually the moment when you said this, there were some things that kind of came to my mind. There are some observations that I've actually kind of made as well. Internationally, I was actually doing some research since we were going to have this conversation. And I realized that internationally, in most countries, parents or rather schooling starts at 6-7 years of age. But in India, essentially, we start at a very early age with this pre-primary or even like, what are your thoughts on that? Why do you think that could be the case?
I don't know. I think our parents are very driven. We have competition in our DNA. We just want to be the best and we want to really prove ourselves that we are good. You better accept it. That kind of attitude. So that's why our Indian parents in general are pushy. And I don't think there's anything wrong in it.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, just indulge me a little. But do you think that also somewhere kind of creates unnecessary pressure?
It does, but tell me, Bhavya, something isn't. What's the point of raising a child in an entire bubble today and then exposing him to the world outside, which is full of pressure?
True.
Why not season him little by little? But I think some pressure, some exposure, some examination pressure is important. Why not? Because that's the world he's going to face tomorrow. And if you and me don't build him today, you and me, I mean, educator and a parent, if I'm not exposing today, how does the child become, chiseled for facing the world tomorrow?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a fair point for sure. And that is, I think, also a clear difference that you see many times with a lot of Asian countries and students who come out of Asia and probably, maybe like a little bit more Western countries. The Asians are slightly more adept towards dealing with a lot of challenges that might be thrown at them. But from a perspective, I mean, I have a theory and that this theory could be completely wrong. But that's something that I really believe in. I think because we've unfortunately, after our independence, still come from a very developing state where we are still in that road of achieving greatness as a country. Constantly from the day you are born, everyone, and I mean like 5 generations back as well, we are constantly in a rat race.
Yes, we are.
Whether it is basically to get into achieving some degree, getting into probably as basic as getting into a lane while driving or, things like this.
Yes.
So from that perspective, I mean, do you think that's something really kind of affects the outcome as well?
See, again, what I always tell my parents, it's a balanced approach. Too much of anything is not good. So if you have to, I mean, you want the child to come first in every term exam, every year, every foyer, for every competition. I mean, that is not fair on the child. But my child is very good and creatively brilliant.
Right.
And if there's a creativity competition and I nudge my child a little more, hey, you can do a little more because you're really good at it, that kind of pressure, there's nothing wrong.
Right.
Because I know my child very well.
Understand.
But too much of anything, that is going to be overwhelming for the child, and that's not right.
Interesting. You mentioned a little bit earlier about these boards and the different type of things that we can do. Of course, I think in the earlier years there was a massive fascination, which is still there, where students would always, parents would always prompt their students to go abroad to study. Do you still see a lot of that happening even today?
This is a very interesting question. If you see the current situation,
right,
how much of abroad is happening?
Yes.
Right? Why is India opening up to international university settling base here in the country? I mean, you have the new age universities happening very much in the country.
Right.
I mean, you have your O.P. Jindals and you have the Ashokas and the Plakshas. The best of the universities are back in the country, right? And having said that, abroad, of course, has its USPs as well. But, it is not going to be a roadblock for a child.
Right.
If in today's time and age, and then future on, if he is not in a position to go abroad, because the best is also happening in the country.
Interesting. So if that were the case, say for example, parents have the eventual dream where, and I think up till a certain age, I think the children are always living the parents' dream.
Absolutely.
Before they start, making decisions of their own. So till that time, if some parents has to make the critical decisions, then which board is the best option to choose and why?
For studying abroad?
Yes.
Of course, international boards have an edge over the state boards and the local boards. Definitely.
Okay.
That's always there. Because the recognition, the understanding of these boards to these universities abroad is much more as the local boards.
Interesting. Okay.
And again, that's one aspect. Secondly, getting into these very, competitive university space,
right.
The kind of entrances, the kind of scoring patterns, everything becomes a little more easier if you are into an international education.
Understand. Okay. But let's kind of unpack a little bit of IB as well, since we are talking about this. There's a popular belief, at least amongst parents, that, of course, across all of these boards, and when I say this, mind you, I say this with a lot of respect. The reason is because I know that Utpal Sangvi still today is one of the more competitive, I would say commercially still is a lot more competitive as compared to most institutions out there. But when it comes to IB, there is a lot of popular belief that commercially they are far more than the other boards. Why?
Yes. So if you see, you mentioned some time back, it's important to have a school which gives a good space and education to a child.
Right.
So now if I'm introducing a board and I'm not equipping my teachers to handle the board.
Okay.
Now, which B.Ed college is teaching, generating an IB educator? No. Right. You don't have an IB specific B.Ed college or a Cambridge specific B.Ed college. Right. You have college education, which is bachelor's in education, which is good enough.
Right.
Now, these teachers need to be trained. Right. Now, the training, the expenses, the price points of training for an IB is almost into 3 as compared to other international boards.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the cost of the training, resources, the staff, the faculty itself, getting an IB trained teacher in today's market is difficult. It has to be competitive there. It has to be a good price point.
Right.
And if I don't give a good resource to the student, what is the point of just putting a board outside that we are an IB or a Cambridge in a school if the teachers who are going to be transacting the daily business is not good enough?
Right.
So if you have to equip, you cannot expect the teacher to pay from her pocket for doing these courses. As it is, she's going to invest a lot of man hours beyond her teaching to get invested into learning, upgrading herself.
Right.
So the school has to do. The school is sourcing all that. Management is going to source all that. Where does the money come? So that is why the international boards, some boards are a little more expensive. The price points are a little more higher as compared to other boards. It's as simple as that.
That's okay. Interesting. What, according to you, are the top challenges of running an institution like this?
In what perspective?
Generally, from perspective, I mean, you being the principal and the head of one of the top schools, what, according to you, do you see as your top 5 challenges in operating or running a school?
I think as a head of school, it's important to communicate your thought processes very clearly to parents.
Right.
Express your negotiables and non-negotiables very clearly to the parents. Again, keeping the child in perspective. Discipline, as I said, is very, very important today's time. Getting good staffing.
Right.
Luckily for Utpal, we don't have this issue, but most of the schools would. So getting good staff to transact. We have staff at times hop, skipping, jumping from, school shopping to get into the best price points for their salaries. Again, I would say in my school, I don't have it, but I know many international schools have that kind of a challenge.
Understand.
So that is there. Other than that, I think students are beautiful.
Right.
As long as you have a good management support, which luckily I have,
yes,
we can just run the school smoothly as we really want.
Why do you feel that Utpal is in such a scenario or situation where they seem to be slightly more comfortable? What makes
the staff? Because
overall,
we don't helicopter monitor staff. Very clear. Okay, when the staff is entering her classroom, it is just between her and her 20 to 30 students. I would not have a supervisor sitting on her head and saying that you do this and you cannot do this. Okay, if the staff is wanting to, of course, everything is pre-monitored. They are planning and their CTs, curriculum tracking, everything is in place. But when she is entering, she is, I would not say command because it's co-sharing with the students, but it is totally their space. So it's not overbearing for a staff. If a leadership is walking into her class, it's just like an everyday communication. So when you give this kind of a space, why would a staff want to leave?
Understand.
Right? And there is a lot of respect given to the staff from the management, from the leadership, from the students and parents, of course.
Right. I was just going to ask that thought process is inculcated from the top down.
Absolutely. You will see my president is very humble. Humility comes from the top.
Understand.
And it's very difficult to stay humble when you have reached, a certain stage in life.
True.
It's a conscious choice and conscious decision to be humble.
True.
Okay. So, but I feel people don't leave for money. People leave if they don't get the right respect and they don't get the right value for the work they are doing. I think that is something we consciously maintain in this institution.
Simple civic sense. How much of this actually can be instilled into a ward at their formative years?
Absolutely, and should be instilled in the formative years. And that's where you asked me how much of a parent, support. I think that is where the support is needed.
Right.
I mean, simple things like not crossing signals, braking signals, not, too much of wastage, throwing away plastic and stuff like that. If we are encouraging that in school, that has to be followed at home as well.
Understand.
Right? Otherwise, the child is in a constant conflict. That is not okay here, but it's okay there. So I think maybe it's still okay.
Right. Interesting.
So it's very important for the school and the parents to speak the same language.
Got it. Yeah, they need to be on the same page.
On the same page, and school needs to communicate it right to the parents also. Let's be fair with the parents as well.
Of course.
Both ways.
Right. Let's come back to the conversation about, of course, students and as well as from a board perspective. It's great that actually you're being so open in terms of understanding about like what you can answering questions about IB and things like that. But from a perspective of education, do you think that there is from a general state point of view, there's a lot of what you call peer pressure in general from students as well, or even parent peer pressure as well?
Yeah, but for what?
In general, from excelling into academics, excelling into extracurricular activities and all of these areas.
Yeah, it is, and it's very natural is what I would say.
Right.
Yes, there is a lot of pressure for students, for parents as well. But if the pressure is for the right reasons, I think it would benefit the child. If the pressure is shallow and only for some kind of an ego trail or an ego trip, I think the one person who's going to be really disturbed by all of this is the child. So it's a matter of choice, basically.
You were mentioning earlier, and we were also obviously talking about why equipping a student today both from a perspective, of course, of an institution as well as from a perspective of a parent, is important. But in today's changing environment, do you feel that there are the streams, the traditional streams which are still available, are they still very relevant?
See, there is liberal arts, which is a wonderful stream to follow,
Right.
which takes which is just not very much straight jacketed as a science, commerce, and an art stream, right? So today's before we go to stream, tell me what is the job requirement of an engineer. Now, an engineer is building a wonderful bridge. Okay, what happened to Joshimath? There was massive construction over here, but nobody bothered to check the quality of the salt over there. Why did the village suddenly one fine day disappear? Okay, were the engineers not good enough? Okay, so if you are just looking at a horse's blinker and studying only one particular stream, one particular aspect, and not considering the others, you will not be, maybe with your academics you may ace it out, but when you're getting into that job perspective where the engineer is expected to know a little about the geography of the place, then where does the child go? So straight jacketing is absolutely not a great idea. And if you look at the boards, the options which I offer at my school, at the 8th grade, when they have to do their subject choices for the 9th grade, a student who's taking a pure sciences would also take an accounting or a business. So I have a commerce stream also open.
Understand.
Right. Similarly, a commerce student has the advantage of taking a global perspective or an art and design. So there's a lot of blending which is happening today.
Okay.
So it's not straight jacketed at all.
Understand. No, I mean, I understand that the evolution of that structure naturally at some point of time, maybe in 5 years or 10 years or decade, it naturally evolves and that needs to get absorbed and adapted into today's conversation or today's whatever relevance. But from a perspective of the number, like for example, AI, right? We were chatting offline as well. Like we were mentioning AI and things like that. Now, those are tools which technically don't really require a specific area of expertise in terms of educational background. So moving forward, do you still see that relevance in that respect? Because earlier the students were spoiled for choices, there were only limited ones, right? I'm sorry, the reverse. Earlier it was only commerce, arts and science, and then you could obviously pick any of those streams.
Right.
But now none of those are possibly required, since if you want to expertise or if you want to branch out in something else, there are so many other things that you can do.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you see the future university spaces, they are giving you the option of major and minor. For example, one of my engineering student also took music, did sound engineering as a major and took music as a minor.
Right.
Because music is very important when you're doing sound engineering. The school universities have these options of major and minor. Architecture student is doing sociology as a minor, because unless you understand the aspect of society, how do you devise a wonderful home for the family? So major minor is very much prevalent in today's new age universities. It's already there. It's already happened.
Okay.
So straight jacketing is gone.
Got it.
Okay, but at the same time, base knowledge is like if you're an engineer, want to do engineering and you do a purely commerce stream, then you have a roadblock immediately over there that you've not done the base.
Understand.
So some base is required, but at the same time, evolving with other subjects also makes it a little more robust as a package.
How do parents also, from when we had studied,
Yes.
it was very different. How do they approach conversations and would you call picking these sort of streams for their children in today's day and age? How are you enabling and adapting that?
So when we are picking up streams, we generally have induction programs for parents, at least.
Right.
I mean, not only my school, every school, because it generally happens towards the fag end of 8th standard. Where the child has some idea whether he's, would be more with, a commerce stream or a science stream or, a generalized. So we have these orientation sessions with parents. We tell them the stakes involved. We talk about, we go to the base up to the study, the curriculum framework, the marking scheme and stuff like that. And based on that, they take an informed choice and they do the selection of subjects. So that's what happens at the end of 8th standard. And that's something which happens even in your ICSE schools where they are selecting boards.
Understand.
Same happens with your IB as well.
Okay.
From the MYP, which is your 8th standard, where they're moving your 9th and 10th. where they're wanting to take subjects. So that happens.
Right. Why is it difficult for any student usually from a journey, like when admissions wise, usually I think anybody who starts either at EY1 obviously goes on to either A levels. And there are so many times when obviously parents who either shift from some other city or possibly want to switch schools, they always find it difficult to get admissions into most schools.
Yeah, because I don't know, it depends on the policy of the organization or the institution. In our school, there's a very strict policy on the number of students in the classroom.
Okay.
And Utpal generally has a repute when once you join Utpal, children don't leave. Okay. And then the foyer, the number of class divisions per foyer are generally fixed. So the students are moving progressively. So it would be only a student who is wanting to migrate, move out of the country or, change geographical space. The parent would want to move out. So how many would that be?
Understand.
So that's how it's difficult in the higher classes to get into.
Understand. So so that means from a school's perspective, for any school, it becomes difficult to accommodate more people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Unless they're increasing classes in the higher grades, because it's not the same. So we have the same number of divisions in every foyer.
Understand.
So how do you get another cohort or team of students enrolling?
What's the average number of students per class that the institution feels it's comfortable to?
See, for international good, anything between 25 to 30 per class is a good enough strength.
Understand.
Yeah.
That's comfortable to manage and
comfortable to manage.
Okay. And that if that exponentially increases by under 10, 15 students per class,
it becomes difficult because then the kind of feedback or the kind of rapport the teacher has with the students, that gets disturbed.
I think the quality of education that's imparted.
That suffers. Yes.
Understand. Okay. From a perspective of what's the current passing percentage of our school?
10%.
Right. I know.
Always.
I mean, I know the answer, but obviously I wanted because it's been like that even in my time as well.
It's been always 10%. We do not have cases of ungraded.
Understand. Right. Does that create a lot of pressure from your perspective?
No, it isn't, because it's just not a one-time story. The working happens from the base. Right. Suddenly, it's not just one fine picture, one fine day, 10th standard, you get good results. It happens right from the base. The grooming, the question paper pattern, everything is formulated based on what happens at the high stake years, and then it is watered down based on the levels.
Understand.
Right. So when we're doing a checkpoint examination for my grade 6 and grade 8, I know the kind of paper pattern, I know the curriculum framework, I know the schemes of work. So what happens in my regular term exams is absolutely not a replica, I'll say, but it is in same lines.
Right. So that they can.
So then the students are prepared.
I understand.
Getting 100% score is really not such a big deal in today's time. I mean, most of the schools do that.
I understand. Right. From a perspective of students as well, I think the times have changed so much. I think during my time, having conversations maybe around mental health, the sort of pressure that you obviously face during your journey of the school. It can be as small as anything, can be as big as anything.
Yes.
How relevant and important is it today?
Oh, it's very important. It's very important. You can reduce a max period, but you don't compromise on mental health and wellness. We have a mental wellness class for my students right from 4th to 8th standard. One period of the week, my counselors walk into the class and they do have these general conversations. There is a curriculum. Cambridge has a curriculum and following the curriculum. But sometimes, for example, my 8th standard counselor would walk into the mental well-being class and she would have certain concepts to be dealt with. But when she's seeing the mode or the modality of the classroom, she would change and tweak based on the need of the hour.
Right.
So mental health, more than mental health, conversation with students. And this doesn't only restrict to school, it should also happen from the parent community. Just talk to them. You just don't talk to them, I mean, what happened in school and how much did you score? That should be the last part of the conversation. Because if that becomes your initial conversation, the conversation stops over there. The student doesn't want to talk. You talk about what fun did you have and what did you do in school, and those kind of conversations, you get to know a lot, you get to understand, and then suddenly the child will come up talking, something like this happened and it disturbed me, and those kind of things, and those are the beginning points of getting so much of information.
Understand.
So they want to speak, they want to talk, They want to speak to someone, and someone who is not judging them. Mental, wellness is something which is the need of the hour.
Absolutely.
And every school should give it a lot of importance.
Right. But from a perspective of, how it used to be like earlier, again, the thing is that I'm trying to draw an understanding of where I think a lot of parents could be, because growing up in a generation where hard-handedness used to had its own pros, and of course it always had its own cons. But in today's day and age, when you're studying or reading a lot of books about parenting or even children and things like that, which I assume most parents do, I think that's something which is important today. Do you think this approach is also something which can possibly be balanced from an institution also point of view, and even a parent's perspective as well? I'd love to get your take on that.
This is something which I talk. It's a subject which is very close to my heart, because I talk to parents and I tell them, how much do you know your child? What matters to that A child may not matter to you. It could be a big issue to a child, but it's not the same with the B child.
Right.
So it depends on how much you know your child, how much of a priority are conversations given on the dinner table. Do you have a time factor that this is the time which is like a mobile free time, and we are only talking, and we are just talking anything? You could be discussing politics, you could be discussing a wedding or anything, but just talk to children.
Right.
So that's not happening, unfortunately, and that is where the whole problem stems from, right? So I think more than mental well-being, reading books, if you can read your child a little more, I think that is where the beginning and the full stop happens.
Understand. Okay, interesting. As a head of an institution, how is it that you constantly have to upskill yourself to be adept with what's happening today?
So going for seminars, I was in Dubai just last week, understanding how AI is impacting, how much of disruption AI is going to be. So constantly reading, constantly upskilling, I'm doing my PhD currently. So all these things really matter, because I think if we don't, then we'll be redundant. You will not have this kind of a podcast with me 10 years down the line if you don't see me upskilled.
Right. Yeah, but
so constantly upgrading, talking to people, talking to colleagues, discussing situations, and their takes on similar situations. I think networking big time with like-minded people. These are things which every school head would be doing.
Understand.
Nothing different.
Great. Where do you see, I know that that there are some interesting plans for the school moving forward. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's too early to discuss. Yes,
Understand.
But my school is expanding 4 floors up.
Understand.
We are expanding vertically.
Understand. Where do you see this institution in the next decade?
There is so much of change in this. The space is so dynamic. But I know Utpal is there to stay. Yes, my students are there to make a mark for themselves. Okay, everything can change, but these 2 things cannot change.
Understand. Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Mukherjee, for this wonderful conversation. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed.
I had a lot of fun as well, and I hope through this conversation we are able to answer many questions that a lot of parents have.
So I just want to, even if you give me an opportunity, I want
Please.
to thank my parent community.
Absolutely.
I think they have a lot of faith and confidence in the system. Utpal is what Utpal is because of the faith, the confidence, and the trust that the parents have in the system. Whenever we are introducing something, and of course we give our reasons, parents listen to us.
Right.
And because of that faith, I can tell you, Utpal has students who feel the space is a happy space.
Right.
Sometimes maybe academics can be overbearing. It can always happen. Sometimes they may not have a very good experience, but the smile on their faces is always there. And every corner of Utpal, if you visit my space, you will see something or the other happening. There's some project happening, there's some debate after school happening, there's sports happening on the ground, and the space is so full of life, and it's buzzing with students' energy is what I will say. So I want to thank my parent community for that.
Surely.
Your confidence makes Utpal what Utpal is today. So thank you so much for it.
Great. Thank you so much. Very nice talking to you. Really enjoyed it.